Peace, family. I've been meaning to do a video on this for a while, so pardon the delay, but it's really been on my mind and on my heart regarding Cynthia Bailey and her being so upfront and honest and in depth about what's going on with her uterine fibroids. I just felt like she was extremely courageous. I felt like she was extremely transparent, and she just comes across as being an extremely transparent person. I think I personally, until seeing her come on to the Atlanta Housewives show and talk about not only the physical aspect of her uterine fibroids, but the emotional aspect, how it doesn't just affect her, it affects her family in terms of her relationship with her husband Peter, in terms of her relationship with her daughter Noelle. She talked about how it affected her career. She talked about how it affected her her energy levels. She talked about how it affected her nutrition and the things that she was craving, the anemia, and all of the things. And these are a lot of things that we don't hear about on television. We see statistics, but there's no context to how are those statistics affecting the woman. So we hear things something like, oh, 2 out of 3 black women have uterine fibroids. Okay, that doesn't tell me a lot. What does it do? What does it mean? There's just no context to these numbers that come out in the news and that come out in these different studies. But if we really drill down, and it's something that we don't talk about enough in our families, because I know for myself, there have been women in my family who have experienced hysterectomies, and it was never educated to me, how did that come about? And it was never really discussed how it was affecting the woman. Only, oh, well, I had a grapefruit sized fibroid. Oh, I had a baseball sized fibroid, and oh, my fibroid had gotten so big it was the size of a baby, or whatever. But beyond just talking about the size of the fibroids, it's never really broken down to really paint the picture about how these fibroid tumors affect the woman holistically. So let's just get into that, because Cynthia really represents, it's just not her fight. This is something that's representative of so many black women all across the nation, all across the world, especially here in the United States, because of the way we live and the way we nourish ourselves. We are even more so affected by fibroid tumors. And then another thing I want to kind of touch on is the way she chose to treat her fibroids and what leads to fibroids, what could have possibly led to her fibroids. And then, okay, you get the fibroids removed. What next? Do they grow back? How do you keep them from growing back? That's something that most Western doctors will not educate you on. They will cut the fibroids out or laser the fibroids out or remove them some type of a way, but they don't educate you as to what is the fibroid? How did I get this fibroid? And how can I keep this problem from coming back? How can I regain balance in my life? So, and then another interesting aspect in terms of me talking about the fact that the fibroids affecting so many black women, then Candy starts talking about, oh, well, when I had fibroids, this is what I did, and I had them. And then Portia, I believe last season, came out and was upfront about her fibroids. So this really is a huge problem, and it's something that from black woman to black woman, we are going to have to really start looking at ourselves and realizing, how do we get to this place? Because it's our responsibility for the generations that's coming up, from the young women who are coming up and that are looking at us. We have to educate them how to nutritionally and emotionally and physically and everything else not have this problem. This is not anything that we have to give to them or that they have to inherit from us. It's something that we can eliminate in our generation. Okay, so she talks about nutritionally craving different types of foods, having extremely painful periods, and that's something that you can have when you're dealing with a fibroid. A fibroid is a usually a benign growth. It can be on the uterus, it can be within the tissue of the uterus, or it can be inside the uterus. It can be different areas of the uterus. They can be small, you can have several, they can be very, very large. And what she talked about was literally seeing her stomach protruding and people speculating that she was pregnant because the fibroids had gotten so large. How do we get there? From my school of thought and from how I've been trained, we really look at mucus in the body. We look at waste products, and every time women have a menstrual period, it's a time of releasing. It's a time of your body letting go. And if there are more toxins in the body than are able to be eliminated either through urination, bowel movements, sweating, things of that nature, then your body as a woman will use your menstrual period as a time to release everything. So if you have a lot of toxins in your body, usually the period will tend to be longer. The period will tend to be heavier, and you may see clots or other things, mucus, and not even all the time is everything able to be eliminated. So what we have is an overabundance of toxins and mucus in the body, and they form tumors. And there's certain things that tumors like to eat. There are certain things that tumors crave. They love carbohydrates like French fries, bread, white rice, white flour. So we're looking at crackers, chips, little things like that, snack foods. Sugar, oh my God, a tumor loves sugar. If you have a tumor, your body's going to start craving sugar. And as you continue to eat that sugar, the tumor is going to grow and grow and grow and grow. They love hydrogenated oil. So that's stuff like Kentucky Fried Chicken, anything that's fried. What else is in there? Like sweet cakes and Little Miss Debbie cakes, and all the things that are pretty much bad for you. Just flip over the label and see if you see any hydrogenated oils in there. And those are oils that it's cheaper to produce them, and it produces a certain type of texture in the food. And so for mass manufactured really heavily processed foods, they tend to use those types of oils. You're going to see oils like canola, cottonseed oil, soybean oil, all of those things in a hydrogenated form. What else does a tumor love? They love meat. They love flesh. They love beef. They love chicken. They love bottom-dwelling seafood like shrimp, oysters, lobster, catfish. And so when we really look at that, when we look at those types of foods, okay, where does the catfish live? The catfish live at the bottom of the lake. Where does the shrimp live? The shrimp live at the bottom of the ocean. The shrimp, biologically speaking, is in the same family as the cockroach. The shrimp is the cockroach of the sea. The shrimp job is to eat all of the waste. So and that's industrial waste, biological waste, all waste, and to keep the ocean clean. That's the shrimp's part of the ecological system, is to clean the ocean. So you have this animal that's consuming all of the trash of the ocean, and then we take that animal and then we eat it. So then what was supposed to be a process of cleaning, we have then put those toxins directly into our body. So there's things like the liver, the kidneys, that are trying to purify your body. They can become overloaded. And so we could talk about that in another video in terms of the liver and endometriosis. That's a whole nother conversation. But so what we have is we have an inundation of toxins in the body, and our body it gets to the point where it can't eliminate everything. So then we start having tumor growths. And the most popular place for a tumor to grow in a woman's body is going to be her uterus, and then her breast. And then the breast that's another video. We'll talk about that later. We're just dealing with the uterus right now and uterine fibroids. So Cynthia sort of discloses her junk food diet, her junky diet. And I believe that's what led up to the situation with the fibroids. But what you really need is you need to sit down with a nutritionist, a dietitian, a doula, a midwife, someone who is extremely educated in the care and the vitality of the womb, that can hold your hand and walk you through what kind of nutritional choices that can you make to support womb health. Now, one thing I have to give her really, really big ups on is her refusal to do the hysterectomy. There's so many women who they feel like, oh, well, I'm done having kids, so whatever, go ahead and cut my uterus out. I have these fibroids, they keep coming back, so I should just, whatever, it's just whatever, go ahead. And she, in her wisdom, recognized the importance of keeping her uterus, even though she may not want more children. But the uterus is the sacred seat. It's just important. It's what makes us women. It hormonally keeps us balanced, etc., etc. So I think that was a wise choice that she made. We have to think about the stress levels and how that can throw our hormones off. When we have hormonal imbalances, it's harder for our body to regulate normalcy and to keep everything running smoothly. So then there becomes imbalance. And when there's imbalance, then we may have growths where growths aren't supposed to be and things getting out of control. So stress. So I'm imagining having a business, being on TV, trying to be a mom, trying to co-parent, trying to balance a lot. It can really be, so if we're not doing yoga, if we're not doing breathing, if we're not doing meditation, if we're not taking the time to say, okay, I need to invest in myself and my wellness, then stress can be a huge contributor to perhaps having a uterine fibroid issue. So who knows if that played into it. It was very interesting how she's very candid about, and then Peter sort of gave his input also, like, yeah, the moodiness, pain with sex, that's another thing that can happen with the uterine fibroids, just because of where they can be positioned. Being down and like literally having to take time off because the periods are so intense. The cramps, the bloating, the nausea, the vomiting, the diarrhea, all of that can come along with having fibroid tumors. Let's see, what else? So we talked about what they are, what could possibly lead to one having fibroid tumors. How it affects you, how it can affect your family. It can make you moody. It can make you very moody, especially when you're in pain and no one can really understand what you're going through. And it's like, it could be so consuming. It's hard for people to relate, especially a man, when he's looking like, I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know what you need, what you don't need. I just want you to, I just want us to be happy and to be good. And obviously something's going on with you. So that's another aspect of it. So, I applaud her for just putting a face to a huge epidemic. And one thing that I can say, so the procedure that she decided to do was a procedure where she did not get the hysterectomy, but I guess they like lasered out the tumors or whatever, but they removed them all, her medical doctor. And then she went home to recuperate. The next step to that is nutritional counseling holistically. So you have to look at your nutrition, you have to look at your stress, you have to look at what are your spiritual practices, you have to look at all the different things that you can do to keep them from growing back. I knew a sister that I have been working with, and she had extremely large tumors. and extremely stressed out woman, and had them removed. She was a young woman of childbearing age, so of course they did not recommend a hysterectomy for her, but they removed them. And within 3 months, the tumors had grown back larger than the previous tumors. In 3 months. And she was back to the square one. But she had not changed her diet. She had not changed her outlook on life. She had not changed anything. So what led to the first round of tumors led to the second, third, fourth round of tumors. You see what I'm saying? So what we have to do is we have to learn about juices. We have to learn about herbs. We have to learn about cutting down, if not out, the flesh and all the things that a tumor loves to eat, right? Because it's just going to grow the tumors. You're going to be back at the same place that you were. And my pet peeve about the care of it is just it's that missing piece. And I guess the doctors are looking at it like, well, I don't want to educate you, or either they don't know about how you can get rid of the tumors without even me going in and cutting you and lasering you and you going down with all of that stuff. But it's just like, so you have an option of, you can get rid of the tumors without surgery. I'm gonna just be real with you. You can. It's intense. It's like you have to be 100% committed to your health. And if you're 100% committed to your health and you're ready to rock out with your herbalist and you're ready to rock out with your nutritionist, dietitian, and do what you got to do, oh, you can get rid of the tumors without surgery. But let's say you do want to do surgery to go ahead and just bam, you ready to just move on to the next thing. You're going to have the counseling afterwards to keep them from growing back. Something's going to have to change. You cannot continue to live your life the way you did pre-tumor and expect for the tumor not to come back. I'm just be real with you. That is what it is. And another thing is that I really hope, especially for the women who are of childbearing age and who are not finished having children, you need to be educated. Well, if you do go the surgical route, what is going to happen with the scar tissue, and how does that affect your uterus? How is that going to affect your fertility? How is that going to affect your ability to have a vaginal birth? How is that going to affect your ability to have the baby, to have an embryo implant in your uterus, right? Those are the things that can sometimes be glossed over when they're presenting these shiny plans. I can fix you and remove this and you'll be just brand new. And then after the fact, when you're ready to have a baby, you're realizing, oh, well, you got all this scar tissue, so, we're limited in what we can do, and we'll have to see, and we got to give you a C-section now. Those are things to take into consideration. If you have a surgery to remove your fibroids and you're of childbearing age, and you then want to have children later on, you are at a much higher risk of C-section. And I'll tell you this, if you are ready to rock out with your herbalist and your nutritionist or your doula or whoever and remove and try to deal with it from a nutritional standpoint, you really don't lose anything, because I will say, as somebody who went through the process myself, probably in like 2 months you already feel relief. That first mince, second mince, by the third mince, you are really seeing, and by mince I mean menstrual period. By that third mince, you are seeing huge transformations. You are seeing transformation in your period getting shorter. You are seeing the discharge from the tumors releasing themselves. There's massage you can do. It's a whole level. Like, once your mind is open to all of these things that have been withheld from you, you're going to be blown away, I promise you. So by you trying the natural route, you're really not losing nothing. You could try it for anywhere from a month to 6 months to see where you at. And then once you can assess how that's worked, then you can kind of go and make an informed decision of, is the medical route for you, and what are the pros and cons to that, and what are you trying to do with your family life? Are you trying to have more children or no, or whatever? But it's just an option that you should know you have, right? So anywho, I just think it's really, I applaud her. I applaud Cynthia for her courage of being honest, being open, taking the world into the life of a Black woman with fibroids and how she handled it. I'm proud of her, and I think I'm proud of Peter for standing by her and holding her down. Her mom for being there and helping her and holding her down. It's nothing that we can do alone. We need our families, right? So let's just, give Cynthia her big ups for really shedding light on a huge issue. And if you feel like you're having issues with fibroids and you want to holler at RootMama, holler at us. The number's right here. And you can check out our website, www.rootmama.org. We have herbs, we do consultations, all of that to just help you live your best you. Peace.